In this video, I'm going to be talking about the relationship between the kick and bass. There's so many ways that you can bring out the best of both. And as we know in electronic dance music, the relation between both is always crucial for a good quality, punchy track. So this is a good example. There's not much of a problem, but there's room for something better. And I'm going to try to see what kind of tool I can use and show you a few things that can make the kick puncher rounder and also in better relationship with the bass. First thing, I'm going to check the kick. And usually one thing that I see a lot in projects is people leaving a long sustain for the kicks, and that's pretty deadly if you want a really clear bass relationship. So in this case, the kick is a bit long. At least it's not too long, but we could cut it to see what kind of result we get. So I can do that by switching the preserve here to this, and then by dropping that, the sustain will go lower or shorter, should I say. Let's test. Already, maybe it feels like it lacks body and aggressiveness, but we can tell that there's something going on that is really interesting because now like the bass is being heard better and it fits more in this project. There's also this sound here, which is called the sub. We'll see what it sounds like. It's really, really low. So this was made to create a lower end to this bass. We'll see how it sounds together. So one thing that I don't like in this bass line is the fact that the bass has some transients, and that could be problematic because it could be fighting with the kick and give the impression that there's two kicks, and the double kick when you're a DJ is a bit of a nightmare because it gives the impression that you're mixing off beat. Let's hear them both. It's not much of a big deal. It's solely doable, but remember that this has shorter sustain now. So I'm going to go and bring it to, let's say, 75. So the attack is not so dramatic, but it's still there. So I'm using a tool called Neutron 2, which is an amazing tool for mixing. It can do lots of things. One thing that I use a lot from this is the Transient shaper. I can shape and say I want less transient in the low end, more in the mids, more here. So there's multiple things I can do with. And for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to about here, which is roughly 90, 80. And this part, I definitely want less attack. But then I can come here and say that I want more attack over here. And then, you know, in the lower end, you don't want too much transient, but in the mid, sometimes some interesting results can come out of that. Let's see. I want more kick in this kick. You know, it's funny to say, but it's kind of what it is. Let's see how we can shape the attack. There's multiple ways to do that. And the simplest, if you don't want to invest into a plugin, is you can duplicate the track, the sounds from this track. And this one, I could have just also done the duplicate like this, but just want to show you a simple trick. And this one, we're going to bring the transient to very, very, very low, 17. We're going to solo this. Now we only have the transient of the kick. And I can, you know, I can transpose it. I'm going to listen with this. Sometimes you have to play with the delay compensation, and this will make sure that the phase is in harmony. So Sometimes playing with that. And I see here, interesting enough, I think, this is one thing is when people use Ableton 10, there's a setting where when you drop sounds, it will remove the attack and it will put this this fader. That was probably the case here, and now I can see that this was playing a big role. The phase seems okay, but it could be shifted here. Let's go see here for better results. Yeah, I mean, it's fine, but it could be interesting to bring it here just to see. Just gonna solo this one. Whoopsie. That can be done also with the delay here. What I do is I situate myself on this, and then I'll use the arrows up and down. I kind of almost feel like there's a better punch when I put it to this. So I'm gonna bring this to 2 as well. And this is something a lot of people overlook, but playing with this for your kick can already make a huge difference. So now that we made a second one with the transient, you can compare. Already much better, like you can tell. But let's have fun with the transient shaper from Neutron here. I also have one from Melda that I really love. Like, it's ridiculous how good it is. But I'm just going to come here with the transient shaper. I'm going to do exactly what I did with the low end, the bass. And usually I want my punch to be around this. So this one, I'm going to increase this. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a group by doing Command and G. And I'm going to bring Neutron on this. And now it's going to be applying to both. And since we're using 2, I recommend that we use compression. We could use multiband compression, but I'm just going to stick with 1 band. And I'm just going to check. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it to about -10. And we see it pumping, but I don't want to lose the transient, so I'm going to bring the attack to 176, 150 is usually a good start. So 143, yeah, sure. And really short release. And I'm going to boost it a little bit. Just a tiny bit. That was too much. Now with the transient shaper, I'm overboard here. Yes, I know, but I will fix that. See, this is what I'm getting. Now let's check with the lower end. What you see here is the transient shaper in action, and then you can see the result here. I don't want to exaggerate so much, so this is why I'm coming here and I'm making sure that it's going to be adjusted so that it's not too much. Usually I exaggerate and then I roll back, and we can play with these to see what it does. Now, what's really interesting is I can put this in parallel mode. And we have a new kick. Add to that second compression that can be done. So what we can do is actually bring this one before, put it in multiband. This one is not doing so much. And I want to be in vintage mode. That's because we're not at the right place. You hear that pumping? That's like we're shaping the transient the way we want it. I'm bypassing it. I don't want it to be compressed. I just want this part to be compressed. So there's tons of ways we can play with that, and you can get lost with it, which is really fun. So the trick here, creating the transient, is something I invite you to try. It's super fun. You lower this, and it can be done with claps. It can be done with anything. If you want to give it like an extra kick at the beginning, you do this. So now let's go with this one. Super cool. I would like to show you the Melda one, which is slightly different, more limited than the Neutron, but also does really good things. And what's really cool is that you can combine it with the kick. So I'm just going to show you another thing with the kick here. And after that, I'm going to show you how I can EQ the low end so that it goes better with the kick. So I'm adjusting the crossovers here. So there's one band that's going to compress between 0 and 60 hertz. The other one is going to be between 63 and 207. And then there's another band that's going to compress over there. So let's see. So you see I add the attack, and the way it hits is far different from the Neutron. I find that it's rounder. It's kind of, it feels more organic. And the saturation that you can add to this makes it really exciting. Playing with the crossover, the slope of the crossover can also give other results. The only thing here is that we don't have a wet dry, so that's not something we can get right away. You can come and edit the parameters more in depth if you are more at ease with that. It's not for everyone. Not everyone is comfortable with this, but basically these are your 3 bands, and then you can come and really shape the attack, the sustain, and saturation per band. And it gives really nice results. So one thing is that you can just adjust it like that. It's pretty powerful. I just like the way it sounds. It's different than the Neutron one, and it's good to have both, and sometimes even combine them. And the result of that is it's pretty exciting. Last tip is the volume shaper by Cable Guys. I'm going to drop that on the lower end. Here is the same thing, it's multiband, so I'm going to say that I want to split at 134. So this 134 is going to be ducking. It's more precise than sidechain compression. It really does a much cleaner result. So I can actually shape it the way I want with, let's say, a beginning LFO that's going to be doing this. So what you see here is the volume of this section of the sound, the frequency that is being ducking. So when it comes in alignment with the kick, it ducks. So here I can decide of the speed of the LFO. I could have it ducking only on the first kick if I want, or every 2 kicks. There's multiple ways that you can use this. It's super useful. And for the kick, I don't want it to be, for the bass, I don't want it to be ducking so much. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to bring it like this and a little bit before as well, so that we get the full-on transient of the kick. the lower end, if we don't want any conflicts, I really suggest that you put the filter. So this filter here is really going to give room for the kick to breathe. And you can go with, if you want a more analog feel, you can go for 6 dB per octave. This is what it looks like. But if you want to play safe, you go for 24 like this. And I would suggest, like you leave the kick so that it has a nice presence between 20 and 40, really hits you from underneath. And the bass is more there to respond to it. We can see the reaction here. We saw the difference between neutron and the transient MB is completely different. But I want to show you a last thing here, which is the neutron. You can come and make these two talk together. So for instance, I'm going to have neutron tell me if there's a problem with my kick in comparison to the bass. So if I come here, I'm going to go for the masking effect, and I want the masking coming from the low end. So this is going to tell me if the low end is being in contradiction with the kick, like it's really in conflict. So it says that here there might be a conflict, which is exactly what I thought. So I'm going to bring it like this. It's already better. We can see that there's still something going on, but if I would play with the EQ, I could resolve that. So I can open up like this. I have to bring the sensitivity pretty high to see something happening. But, it's already much better, and I still want the bass to be there, so I'm not going to cut so much. So I think these tips are going to be helpful for you. You can check for the links if you're interested in those plugins. Great ones, very useful, and definitely something you want to have in your toolkit. So more videos to come.